Hello, friends. Welcome to Bible Words. I'm Pastor Dave, your host. Thanks for tuning in as we answer a very personal question about our marketplace vocational lives. As always, God's Bible Words provide us answers to our questions about how to live life wisely. And our question this week is this: how do you work with people who have different perspectives than your own? You know, I love this is a great question because all of us have faced our own workplace woes of getting along with someone who is, quote, different than us. It might have been our boss that we had to answer to, or maybe a coworker that we had to work with, or even a new hire that we were assigned to train and break in, so to speak. Like most people, we spend the majority of our adult lives waking moments with people either accomplishing a task for school or for paying the bills, a job we're working at in our career. So let's talk about what this question means by different perspectives, working with people who have different perspectives. You know, I don't think the person asking this question was thinking that variety or difference is the spice of life. I think the real question here is how do we get along with people that we disagree with, that we don't like, right? I mean, we could wish that everyone in our workplace was a source of constant encouragement. But the truth is, some folks only provide irritation to others. I think our first step in working with people is to discern why they are how they are, and I would assume that there is one of three issues in play in their lives, either ignorance or arrogance or brokenness. Let's talk about brokenness first. There is a truism that's been around for 20 or more years that says, hurt people, hurt people. Hurt people, hurt people. You understand? People still nursing emotional wounds from their past have unhappy hearts. They can struggle with and oppose anyone who is perceived by them as a threat. You see, all of us were created by God to feel significant and to be secure within ourselves because, one, we were created in His image, that's significance, and we were created to be loved by Him and other people made in His image, and that's our security. So if there is a gaping hole in someone's heart because those two created needs were either withheld or taken away from them in previous years, then disagreements with others or even questions about their work could easily be perceived as a threat to their perception of personal significance or security. And their defensive pushback with those they work with could make them an ongoing source of difference or an irritation to others, or even a source of hurt to others. Our second source of difference are those who assume they know it all. I'm talking about the arrogant. I'm talking about folks who reflect a I know what I believe, don't confuse me with the facts attitude. You know, in the competitive marketplaces we work in where success is not measured by our love and acceptance of other people, there are many folks who are just faking it until they make it. Why? Because vulnerability or perceived weakness are just not options. Pressing ahead, confidently doing it their way for them is the only way. Our third category are the ignorant. Their lack of discernment makes them well-intentioned, but maybe misguided in their efforts to be part of the work team. And if they persist in such misguided efforts, then that can make it awkward for you if you're part of that situation. So how do we work with a variety of folks who are different from us and reflect different perspectives? Well, I believe Jesus would tell us that our first step is to love them and to learn about them so that we can understand that person enough to know what is motivating her or his different perspective. Jesus said that our general attitude for folks like this is very clear in the Sermon on the Mount. He said, in everything, no exceptions, therefore, treat people the same way you want them to treat you, for this is the law and the prophets. This is where working with different people starts. It means refusing to think to ourselves as we think about that individual, why aren't you normal like me? Paul cautions us to first check our egos at the door to make certain that we ourselves aren't the problem individual, that we ourselves aren't the one everyone's talking about saying that we're different, that we're the problem. And then he says, do nothing from selfishness or empty conceit, but with humility of mind regard one another as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. If we just did those two things, a lot of problems would go away. So let me remind you of this truth. People don't care how much we know until they know how much we care. Just realize that everyone Jesus encountered during his earthly gospel ministry, that means his 12 disciples, those he chose to work with, and everyone else, They all had different perspectives from his own, vastly different. He faced different perspectives that he had to overlook in order to accomplish his Father's will for him and for his life. And you know what? I believe the same thing is true for each one of us. Different perspectives that cause personal irritation and sometimes disruption of harmony. It's just normal part of earthly living. Let me leave you with one final biblical word of truth to think on this week. If possible, Paul says, so far as it depends on you, be at peace with all men. That's the key, focused on peace. Hey, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share Bible words with your friends, and send me your questions about life, and we'll see what God's Bible words has to say about it. See you next week.